Ever get that sharp pinch in your shoulder whenever you hang from a bar, bench, dip, or even planche? You know you can do more, but the pain is holding you back. It's frustrating and it's killing your gains. Your shoulders are the powerhouse behind every upper body move. They're also the easiest joint to injure. One wrong angle, one weak stabilizer, and boom, pain, impingement, or worse. Today, we're changing all that. I'm gonna show you how to bulletproof your shoulders from the inside out. Starting with your most important stabilizers and building outward. No more pain, no more setbacks, just unstoppable strength. If your shoulders are always the reason you can't train harder, heavier, or longer, it's not your workout that's the problem. It's your foundation. Your shoulders are the most mobile joint in your body. That mobility is powerful, but also fragile. So to protect and strengthen them, you have to go deeper than just big delts. Your shoulder is built from layers of support. At the core is your rotator cuff. 4 small muscles that stabilize and guide your shoulder through every movement. Without a strong cuff, your delts can't fire safely or efficiently. Now layered over that are your delts. Your rear delts control posture and pulling power. Your side delts handle lateral movement and shoulder width. And your front delts drive all pressing movements. Together, they make up a 360-degree powerhouse, but only if every piece is trained right. Now let's cover the main movement paths of your rotator cuff and how to strengthen them with weights, calisthenics, and cables. Starting off with number 1, vertical external and vertical internal rotation. For a bodyweight calisthenics exercise, we're gonna be using a resistance band. You could step on the band and turn your fist up while keeping your elbow and arm in place. With free weights, you could do this exercise standing up. You can also do this laying down on your stomach for external rotation or laying on your back for vertical internal rotation. And with cables, it makes this so efficient. All you have to do is just change the height on which the weight pulls from. Just remember, if the resistance is coming from in front of you, you're gonna be working your vertical external rotation. And if the resistance is pulling from behind you, you're gonna be working your vertical internal rotation. All right, moving on. Next, we have horizontal external rotation and horizontal internal rotation. As you turn your hand and shoulder outward, that's gonna be external rotation. And as you bring your hand inward and across your body, that's gonna be internal rotation. Starting off with external rotation for calisthenics, again, the best way you're gonna be able to hit this is with a band at mid body weight height. Pull your hand outward away from your body while keeping your shoulder and arm in place. To work your internal rotation, you're gonna step the opposite way. And from this position, you're gonna pull your hand across your body. Now with free weights, for the optimal position, you actually wanna be doing this laying from the side so that the resistance from the dumbbell is being pulled from the right direction. Keep your elbow at a 90-degree and rotate your hand outward and come back to starting position. And moving on to the cable machine, personally, I like to do these best with the cable machine because it's the most convenient, as you can really position exactly where the weight is pulling from. And with the amp machine, I can even change the amount of resistance super fast with the turn of a dial. If you want an amp cable machine in your house, you can get one right now at ampfit.com. I use this pretty much every single day in almost every workout I do. Moving on to the last one for your rotator cuff, we're gonna call this the throwing drill. Starting off with calisthenics, we're using a resistance band. You're gonna move your arm in a circular pattern forward, feeling the rotation through your shoulder, elbow, and hand, as if you were throwing a ball. For free weights, to make sure that the resistance of the dumbbell is coming from the correct angle, you wanna lay down to do this exercise. And doing this with cables, again, this is gonna be the most efficient way to do this exercise. You can specifically add exactly how much resistance you want, and you can set the trajectory of the resistance from any angle. Now, the rotator cuff is what gets neglected the most, and usually the number 1 factor of why people get injured in their shoulders or just have weak shoulders in general. Now, the second main cause to injured or weak shoulders are gonna be your rear delts. And that's because the rear delt is often the weakest part of the shoulder. It only gets activated during targeted back or pulling work, unlike your medial and frontal delt, which is engaged pretty much every other workout day throughout the week. Whether you're on the floor working out doing mountain climbers or hitting push-ups and bench on your push day. So to really engage, strengthen, and build our rear delts, we're gonna start off with face pulls. To do this with calisthenics, because we're not using weights, the way to go up in resistance is to move on to harder progressions that are gonna use more of your body weight for resistance. And once you can do about 10 to 15 reps of this one, you can move on to hanging on the bar with headbangers. And after headbangers, you'll develop some solid strength to increase the range of motion by going with back and forth pull-ups, the most optimal way to do this. But also the most difficult, that uses the most resistance, which is performed just like the headbangers, pulling up as high as you can, holding this top of the pull-up and pushing back and forth while maintaining the height of your pull-up. Now with free weights, the easiest way to do this is to lay over a bench, but if you don't have that, you only have dumbbells, you can just do a bent over face pull with lighter weight. You can hold the dumbbells like you're holding 2 bars in your hand and you're trying to pull the bars past your ears as if you were to make a flexing pose. Remember, the key to this is to squeeze the back of your rear delts. If you're not laying down on a bench, you need to be in a bent over position to make sure that the weight of the dumbbell is pulling from the right direction to engage your rear delts properly. And with cables, this is gonna be super simple. You can do this standing up, have the cable pull from shoulder to face height, hold 1 to 2 seconds at the peak of your contraction, and go back to full range of motion. Second exercise for your rear delts is gonna be straight arm reverse hold. As a complete beginner for calisthenics, you wanna keep your arms straight, retract your scapulas, bringing your shoulders back. You should also feel the squeeze of your rear delts. Try to maintain and hold this position for as long as possible. When doing this with free weights, you're gonna pull your scapulas back, squeeze your shoulder blades behind you, feel your rear delts retracting, and then pulling your elbows and hands back. Maintain this position and squeeze for as long as you can. To do this with cables, it's very simple. You can use 2 cables, retract your scapula, engage your rear delt, and just pull back and hold. Now to scale this with free weights, obviously you work your way up until you can hold more and more weight. Same thing with cables. You work your way up until you can increase the weight. So to take this exercise to the next level, try doing a tucked front lever hold. If this is too difficult, you can also use a resistance band for assistance, which you can pick up at Thenx.com. Once you can hold this for about 20 seconds, you'll be able to move on to the half lay front lever hold. And after holding this for at least 10 to 15 seconds, you'll be able to move on to the full front lever hold. And if this is too difficult, again, pull out your resistance band and use it for some assistance. Now the next movement you're gonna need for your rear delts is gonna be the straight arm reverse fly. For calisthenics, what you're gonna wanna do is move on to front lever raises. And once you can do about 6 to 10 reps of tucked front lever raises, you can then move on to half lay front lever raises. These are gonna be a lot more difficult as it's adding a lot more resistance with your body weight. So you can always use a resistance band if you do need assistance. And once you can do about 6 to 10 of these, you should be able to do at least 1 front lever raise. And to build up your volume at the beginning, again, use a resistance band. Eventually you'll be able to go for reps at just your own body weight. For free weights, it's gonna be the same movement, but for the weights to have the resistance at the right angle, you wanna be in a bent over position to engage your rear delts properly. But if you wanted to add more weight to this exercise, it might be more optimal to try this laying down on a bench. And when it comes to cables, same thing. You could do this standing up, having the resistance anywhere from your shoulder height to your belly button height. And to get stronger, all you need to do is just add a little bit of weight and increase the resistance over time. Now the last important movement for your rear delts is gonna be the scapular retraction. With calisthenics, keep your arms straight and pull your shoulders back, retracting your scapulas, trying to bring your shoulder blades together, and really emphasizing and engaging on contracting your rear delts. And it's important to not assist by bending your arms with this exercise. You want it all to be done solely by retracting your scapulas. With free weights, you can do this from a bent over position, retracting your shoulder blades without arm movement, and to add even more weight over time, you can do this laying down on a bench. And for cables, again, this is probably gonna be the most optimal way. Being able to place the resistance at the perfect angle and retracting your scapulas only with no elbow bend. Now we can get stronger simply by increasing the resistance with the free weights and cable version, but for calisthenics, we're gonna need to level up to tuck front lever retractions. Now from tuck front lever retractions, you can move into half lay front lever retractions. And once you can do about 6 to 10 of these, you should be able to at least do 1 front lever retraction. The next delt to bulletproof your shoulders is gonna be the side delt. Now the main movement path for your lateral delts are gonna be the lateral raise. Adducting your arms from the side all the way up and all the way back down. It also assists in the overhead press. So the first exercise is gonna be lateral raise. For calisthenics, as a complete beginner, you can start off with bands, step on your band, keep your arms straight, and raise your arms out to the side, above your shoulders if possible, for full range of motion. Try to push your hand away from your body as you're doing it. For free weights, it's gonna be the classic side raise. When doing these side raises, if you can bring the dumbbell at least up to eye level, that would be perfect. This can be done with one arm to strengthen each side individually and cure imbalances, or of course with 2 arms for efficiency. And lateral raise with the cables, that's gonna be the same exact thing. You can do this with one arm and at an angle to make sure that you're emphasizing the most on your shoulder. The angle that I'm using with the cable machine is actually putting more emphasis on your side delt throughout a longer range of your movement path. Versus when you're doing it with free weights, the intensity is gonna drop at the bottom as well as peak height. Now, of course, it's easy to level this up with free weights and bands by adding more weight, but with calisthenics, you'll either need a thicker band or try the high side delt raise. And if you don't have another band, you can always use the same band, but just step on the band more so that the resistance band is shortened and starts with greater tension from the beginning. All right, next we're gonna move on to scapular presses straight in the air. Now, doing this with just your own body weight, the calisthenics version, you can simply hold a pike position, shrug your shoulders up and down without bending your arms. When doing this with free weights, this is gonna be super easy. You just stand straight and tall while holding the weights overhead and perform small shrugs for 10 to 15 reps at least. And cables, exactly the same. You're gonna have the pulley all the way down from the bottom and pulling vertically straight up. With weights or cables, you can do this single-handedly or do this with 2 hands together for efficiency. Keeping your arms straight and only pushing with your shoulders straight up and back down. Now with calisthenics, this is gonna be really fun to scale because after the pike position, you built the strength to be able to elevate your pike to perform an elevated pike hold with scapular presses. This is gonna add more body weight onto your pike position, creating a progressive overload for this exercise. And once these get easy, you're ready to go for handstand hold scapular presses. If you can't hold and balance a handstand, you can always do it against the wall. But if you want to learn how to hold a handstand freestanding, just check out the many videos I've made on how to handstand hold. It's very simple. I break it down step by step. And if you want a complete program showing you exactly what to do every single day, even starting as a complete beginner with no prior experience, download the Thenx app in the App Store or Google Play Store right now for free. It actually doesn't stop there. You can always add weight onto your body to further create a progressive overload and get even stronger with these exercises. You'll also find your weight vest at Thenx.com along with all calisthenics equipment like parallettes, dip bars, fitness apparel, and everything you're gonna need for your calisthenics journey to work out right from home. Now next for our side delts, we have the shoulder press. The calisthenics version is gonna be very similar to what we just covered. We're gonna get into a pike position and we're gonna go for pike push-ups. But if this is too difficult, you can always, again, grab your Thenx band and start off with shoulder presses by stepping on the resistance band and doing an overhead press with the same form and technique as if you were to do it with free weights. Except with free weights, you can do them standing or as a seated overhead press, which is gonna give you stricter form and also allow you to lift heavier. Now for the cable version, make sure that the resistance is pulling all the way at the bottom. You wanna be pressing in a straight vertical motion. And just like the free weights and the cables, you can do this with one arm or you can do it with two. Both of them are gonna be great for rehabbing and strengthening your shoulders. Now to increase the resistance for the calisthenics version, you're gonna need to start leveling up the exercises. Once you can do about 10 pike push-ups comfortably, you're ready to move on to elevated pike push-ups. Choose an elevation that's gonna challenge you, but allow you to perform them with correct form. Eventually, you would have built the strength to be able to do handstand push-ups against the wall. Pretty soon after, handstand push-ups without the wall. Now the last exercise for our side delts that we're gonna get into is gonna be the overhead hold. For the calisthenics version, you can start off with the resistance band, just holding above your head, keeping your arms locked out straight and pushing with your scapulas straight into the air. Or you can do this without any equipment at all with a simple pike hold. For free weights, all you need to do is stand in a straight up position with your hands holding weight above your head with your arms locked out, pushing your scapulas up towards the sky. Same thing for the cables. The cables should be resisting from below and you should be holding the resistance above your head in a straight vertical line. This is a great exercise to add weight over time. But for calisthenics, to add weight, you're gonna need to move up the progressions into elevated pike hold, increasing that elevation, and then of course, until you can hold it freestanding without the wall. Finally, we're moving on to the front delts, the finishing layer. Your front delts get hit constantly. Chest presses, push-ups, planks, but to build resilience, you still need direct work for your frontal delts to complete protection and strength. Your frontal delts are engaged whenever you raise your hands in front of you, as well as pressing in front of you and pressing overhead. So for the first exercise, we're gonna start off with the main movement path responsible for your frontal delts, the straight arm raise. For the calisthenics version, you can start off with bands, stepping on the band and raising your arm forward. The free weights is gonna be the same. You can do this from a standing position because the resistance should be coming from down below. Make sure to bring the dumbbells at least above your head and back down for complete range of motion. And you really wanna try not to bend your arms when doing this exercise so that you're not helping with other muscle groups like your biceps if you're bending your arm and taking the responsibility away from your frontal delts. So the same thing is gonna go for the cables. You can do this with one hand or two hands. Make sure that the resistance is coming from down below and you're pulling up all the way above your head and back down. Now to increase the resistance, create a progressive overload, and get stronger with the calisthenics way, you can move on to pike to pseudo planche leans, or you can start off with these exercises if you didn't have resistance bands. And once you can do about 10 to 15 reps of this, you're ready to move on to tuck planche raises. You could start off with momentum at the beginning and slowly eliminate it as you get stronger. Make sure to keep your arms locked and straight the whole time so that you're emphasizing on the intended muscle groups, your frontal delts. Try to raise as high as you can. Once you can do at least 10 comfortably in a row, you're ready to move on to the straddle raise. Now, because we're using body weight, it's hard to work with an exact increment of weight. So this is gonna increase the resistance a lot. And finally, once you can do at least 2.5 to 3 of these in a row, you'll probably be able to do a full planche raise. But again, always use a resistance band if you need it to help close the gap. But once you're doing full planche raises, I would say at this point, you definitely bulletproofed your shoulders. Moving into the next exercise for our frontal delts, we're gonna be covering straight arm hold. For calisthenics, you can do this simply by holding a push-up position on the floor, or better yet, a pseudo planche position, which is very similar, just leaning forward as much as you can, with your arms locked out forward and your body stiff. And this is the same thing for free weights. And as you can see, this position is virtually the same position as a full planche or pseudo planche position that we did in the calisthenics version. Same thing with the cables, pushing the cables forward and holding your arms straight, preferably around the navel area. This one, the exercise before and the exercise coming up are actually my top 3 favorite maintenance exercises that I use to help unlock my full planche push-up, and full planche raises. So definitely focus on these with free weights and cables as well, increasing the resistance over time. And eventually you'll be able to move on to the harder calisthenics versions, which after the pseudo planche hold would be the tuck planche hold. Once you can hold the tuck planche for at least 10 seconds, you can start training towards the straddle or half lay. Again, also using the free weight and cable exercises as accessory movements. And once you can hold this for 5 to 10 seconds, you're finally ready to move on to the full planche. And again, if you can hold a full planche, you've definitely bulletproofed your shoulders at that point. Now, lastly, for our frontal delts, we're gonna go into the straight arm scapula push-up. Again, very neglected exercise, which is essential for maximizing your shoulder strength. For the calisthenics version, it's very simple, very easy. In a plank position, all you need to do is keep your arms straight, sink your chest slightly, then push away without bending your arms, trying to be as tall as possible with your back. Now, of course, you can do this with the resistance band if you had one, working your way up to thicker resistance bands. For free weights, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're laying down so that the force of the weight is being applied at the right angle to engage your frontal delts. Now remember, keep your arms completely straight. You can push straight into the air and back down. But the most optimal way to do this that's gonna transition into harder calisthenic skills is to try to do this with your hands out in front of you, but at your waist level. And for this exercise, again, you can do this with one hand, or you can do it with 2. Same thing for the cables, except with the cables, you can do this in a standing position because the cable system is dynamic enough to place the resistance from any position or height. So as long as the cables are pulling from behind you, anywhere from belly button to chest level, that's gonna be perfect. So to level this up for calisthenics, next we're gonna be moving into the tuck planche. And from this position, you wanna do your scapular presses. Once you could do 8 to 10 reps comfortably, then you're ready to move on with the full planche scapular push-ups. Again, use a resistance band. This is a very difficult move. And remember, you can get a complete resistance band set at Thenx.com, as well as parallettes to work on your push-ups, handstands, and skills from home, and absolutely everything you need to build the ultimate physique and learn the most advanced skills. And once you're doing full planche scapula push-ups, it really doesn't get any stronger than that. You would have developed the strength and resilience in your shoulders to pretty much take on any other exercise. For example, I never trained deadlift. I haven't even done it once all year. And I was able to deadlift over 400 pounds with Larry Wheels my first try. And most importantly, breaking the Larry Wheels curse and doing it injury-free. Bulletproofing your shoulders isn't about chasing a pump. It's about creating a foundation that makes every single lift stronger and pain-free. By training your rotator cuff first, then rear delts, side delts, and finally front delts, you're building real durability, not just size. Add these exercises to your routine at least 1 to 2 times a week. Pick the version that matches your setup. Calisthenics, free weights, or cables, or all 3 for the maximum benefits, and stay consistent. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments which variation burned your shoulders the most. And if you really want to get in the best shape of your life, subscribe right now. Subscribing to this channel will have you automatically unlock the ultimate physique simply by following along to these videos every week. So I'll see you next Monday with a brand new video, 10 a.m. USA Eastern Time. Mad love and peace out, baby.